be with this church. Love the partnership that is growing, and we're just up the highway a little bit. Boise Bible College is, and I'm grateful for the partnership of this church with our college. Just the prayers for our college, for the next generation of leaders that might come out of this church, that might be the next Eric Nielsen at a church plant somewhere. You know, those are the things that we just aspire to and love being a part of. I love the opportunity to be a participant with you right here. This is like week 3 or 4, is that right? In this gym. So to be with you kind of early in your season in this new spot. And Eric, thanks for the invitation. I want to speak about an invitation with you that I had a few years ago when we lived in Hillsboro, Oregon, just west side of Portland. Had a good friend who was turning 50, and he said, "Hey, I'd like to take yourself and 2 others for a 50-year-old birthday bash. My wife has given me the green light. She's going to pay for this, and I want to take the 4 of us to Bandon Dunes Golf Resort along the Oregon coast." If you are a golfer, you know what that is. If you're not, Bandon Dunes is sort of like a link-style, European-style golf, prestigious resort area down in Bandon, Oregon. And he said, "It's all taken care of. We're going to pay. We're going to take care of all the expenses. So we're going to rent this house right there in the resort. We're going to play 4 or 5 rounds of golf, and they're very expensive. By the way, one of those golf courses you don't get to ride the golf court on. You got to have a caddy, pay for a caddy to carry your clubs. And we're going to stay right there in this house. The house had nicer carpet than mine. It was amazing in every way, and it was a phenomenal invitation. Of course, I said yes, and I actually played pretty decent golf, so it was really good to play on a really, really nice golf course at his invitation and had a time of our life to celebrate 50 years old with him. It was a super invite. But let's just be real honest, there are some invitations we get that aren't always so super. You know? Like, we're always invited to something, whether it's on your email or whether it's in your mailbox at the street. We always have these invites. We always have, some are good, some are not so good. Like, some are like, drop everything, I'm in, and some are like, how can I find the exit sign faster to get out of this conversation? For example, some invitations, here's a good one, an invitation to your friend's baby shower, right? Bad invitation would be to babysit your friend's 2-year-old quadruplets. Not quite the same level, right? Okay, a good invitation would be from your friend calling you and saying, "Hey, I want to take you out for dinner. You're a good friend of mine. My treat at your choice of a steakhouse." Bad invitation would be that letter you get from the county that says, "Join me for jury duty at the courthouse." Right? Not quite the same. We always get these levels of invitation throughout our day, and so today, what I want to do is I just want to press in a little bit on an invitation and just think about that and think about how this gospel invitation into the mission and purpose of Jesus, what it really looks like, and how actually we can become a partner with Jesus at his invitation to join him in his work. So here's what I want you to do. Audience participation. Get your phone out, or you can go old school with something to write with. I want you to write this statement down, okay? Get your phone, text yourself, get in your notes app, or write it down. Here's the statement I want you to get. God invites me to join him in his work. God invites me to join him in his work. That is in spreading, the good news that we have this pain-taking God, right? This prison door shaking God. That's what I'm talking about. That we have this invitation to participate with him in diving into helping others experience what we're just saying about. God invites me to join him in his work. And if you want to know God, I think if you really want to know the heart of God, I think you got to get into what really is at the heartbeat of his life. And one of the realities he has is that he wants you to participate with him. That's really in his heart. He can do this whole thing by himself. But he really wants us to be a part of the work with him. To be part of echoing, if I can say that, to almost be like living echoes of his announcement of, there's a restart and a reset in your life. I know who that could be. He wants us to be a part of that. That's an incredible invitation. That he would actually invite you and invite me to do this life restoring, mission that we are in process of experiencing ourselves, but now actually can be useful to help other people participate with him? That is crazy. Does he not know who we are? I mean, he created it all, and we corrupted it. And then he cured it at the cross, and now he is calling you. Us? He wants you and me? Absolutely. He loves to work through people who don't have it all together. So his grace would be even more evident. And his power would be even more manifest. How can we not say yes to something that's changed my life, our life, to be participants with him? So our anticipation to actually participate in this really starts with a simple prayer. God, show me where you're working and I'll join you. Show me where you are and I'll step into that. This life that I live, when I pray that prayer, the life that I have and the breath in my lungs and your lungs, actually I begin to see it's really not all about me when I step into that. It's really not all about, it's about Jesus and what he has done for me and what he's doing in me to now invite me to participate with him. It really is all about him. And that's the mission. God inviting you to participate with him in order to help other people gain real life. So that those other people would be willing participants to help then someone else find real life. So that those people who found real life and started with me and went to them, and now you see, we're all in here because somebody said, sign me up. I'm a willing participant with your invitation. We're all in here because somebody did that for us. So what a great invite for us to carry that on and to continue it on. And so I think what I want to do is look at an example of really, this is a biblical example of what we can see of someone joining Jesus. Peter was his name. Simon, you might know him. Peter was a good guy. We can see his life story in that Jesus invites Pete into participating with Jesus and what he wants to do. Peter's story is found in a couple different places, but the one I want to come and look at is in Dr. Luke's version, Luke chapter 5. I'm not going to put the text on the screen. Pull your Bible app up, or you can just listen to the story. I'm good with that too, you know? So in Luke 5, here's what's going on. Before we see this scene with Peter and Jesus we're going to zero in on, Peter has just witnessed Jesus do something with his mother-in-law. Peter's mother-in-law was suffering with really high fever at the end of Luke chapter 4. And Jesus touches her, and almost like a demon fled. I'm not saying she was demon-possessed, but almost like a demon fled. He touched her, and the fever was gone. And she immediately gets up, and she begins to do the things that she had always done. Jaws had dropped into the floor in this house, seeing the mother-in-law. I think they were about ready to make funeral plans for her. She was very, very ill. And Jesus heals her, and Peter is blown away. But Jesus wants to take impressed Peter and make him involved Peter. It's one thing to be impressed with Jesus. It's not a bad thing to be impressed with him. But he wants us to be involved with him. And Peter is invited to be in involvement with Jesus' mission. In Luke 5, we see this huge crowd pressing on Jesus. They're looking for a good word. They want a good word of hope. They want something good news oriented. And so they're right there at the lake of Gennesaret, or another word would be the Sea of Galilee. It's the same body of water. And Jesus decides to use something he created. He created that body of water, and he wants to use that body of water as his perfect acoustical amphitheater so he doesn't strain his voice. To share a good word with the crowd. And he walks up to the edge of the lake, and there are a couple of boats along the edge of the lake. Right there, near Peter's LLC in Capernaum. It's his limited liability company. He's an entrepreneur. He started this fishing company. He walks right up, and he pretty much just steps right into one of Peter's boats without getting permission. He sees Peter washing his nets. It's what you do if you're a first century fisherman. You tend to your nets. You know, the nets are not like they don't fish with a rod and a pole. They have these nets, they throw it down into the lake, and they drag the nets over the edge of the boat. And over time, with the weight of the fish in the nets, it just wears on the nets. And so daily, you have to mend the nets. You got to equip them to make sure they function right. Normal maintenance. And Jesus walks up to the edge of the sea, and he sees these guys doing what they do every day. Because if you don't care for the nets, you lose revenue. I guess you could say there would be no net gain if you don't take care the nets. So they're preparing, they're equipping, they're mending the nets for the next day. They're done for the day when Jesus walks up, and they're getting their nets ready at the daily chore, and Jesus steps into the boat, and he wants Peter to participate, and he says, hey, Pete, push out a little ways from the shore. Well, here's how this works. You pray that prayer we talked about just a minute ago. God, show me where you're working. I'll join you in that. And then when we do that, God gives us opportunities to serve him, opportunities to join him, and to connect with what he has in mind, the way you were created. The beautiful thing is he invites you with all of your package, all your Enneagram, personality, spiritual gifting, talents, all that skill set, he just wants you. I want you, if you would, to join me in this. So here it is. Pete, row, row, row your boat, Pete. Out from the shore a bit. Lend me the talents that you have and the skill set you have for God's word. Use your vocation for my voice. It's really the simple invite. And Peter's a professional fisherman, man. Can he row really well? And he does. He actually does what Jesus does. He pushes away from the shore. And Jesus, like any good rabbi, sits down in the boat and he begins to teach. Peter's got a front row seat right there in the boat. He's an eyewitness to what Jesus is going to say. You see, after seeing Jesus rebuke the fever in his mother-in-law, it's like he would gladly row for this guy. I'm going to borrow a couple of points from my good friend Jeff. He actually simplified this story with a couple of three memorable words. And here they are. Jesus is inviting us to join him in the simple things. He invites us to join him in the simple things. Peter was asked to do something that Peter does every day, in the mundane, in the routine. Peter, row your boat. It's like I could do that in my sleep. I know. That's why I asked you to do it. In your normal day in and day out job, the things that you do all the time that are kind of no-brainer, those things are just sort of like, I could do them in my sleep. Like you're driving to your job, things around the house, your teaching, your handiwork, your craftsmanship. What is the things that you just love to do that you do so normally? Those are the things Jesus is saying, hey, lend that to you. Wherever you are, whatever you do. Those simple things. Those sort of no-brainer things. Peter assisted Jesus in doing something Peter does every day. Didn't seem to be that important. And I think sometimes we can do that. It's like the things we kind of think that are way too simple and way unimportant for kingdom of God stuff. It's like that's a perfect opportunity. When Jesus had finished speaking to the crowd from the boat, he invited Peter to go a little deeper. Dr. Luke records that Peter was asked by Jesus, hey, let's go a little deeper. I mean, literally, let's go a little deeper into the Sea of Galilee. And so after this gospel, this good word from Jesus, let's go out a little ways and lower your nets down for a catch, Jesus says. Now, after cleaning the nets and mending the nets for the next day's work, these nets are all prepared, they're ready. But right here, right now, this time of day, I mean, going to the deep isn't a problem for Peter. He does that. This is where you go to catch the fish in the Sea of Galilee. You go to the deep. And Peter, though, he begins to reason with Jesus. He begins to make some rational excuses. I mean, this guy can heal really good. And man, is he a good orator, but he doesn't know fishing. He begins to read. It's like, Jesus, we fished all night. It's what you do. You fish at night, Jesus. Not when the sun is up. You go at night. We fished all night, Peter says, and we caught nothing. Jesus, it's best to fish at night. For when you catch it at night, you go to the market the next morning and you sell it. But like, not today, right here, right now. I mean, he's a great guy, but he certainly doesn't know not to fish during the daylight hours. I wonder if Peter felt a little inconvenienced. I certainly was tired, right? Long day's work, got to go home, want to be with my family. Makes no sense. But oftentimes, when we feel put out or out of rhythm, or Jesus comes swerving in and interrupts, those are the moments where there's something really exciting going to happen. And Luke inserts this word. It's a small little word in English. It's a little conjunction. In grammar, it's a conjunction word, sort of a pivot word. It's a word we kind of skip over, but it's everything. It's a life-changing word. It is a story of transition word. But, Peter says, but at your word, I'll let my nets down. Makes no sense. But at your request, doesn't seem reasonable, but Peter has seen Jesus use a word to heal his mother-in-law. And he's heard Jesus speak eloquently, and people's lives were beginning to change. Peter humbly accepts Jesus' apparently unreasonable request. And he humbly accepts him. He puts himself in the right place as Lord. And Peter now is second. And as a result, you're familiar with this, I'm guessing, catches this huge amount of fish. The nets begin to break. It's a huge yield. In fact, he kind of whistles over, and some others in his company come over. They bring their boat, and both boats get filled up to the brim with fish. There's so many fish. They've never seen it. You could think, they might be thinking, this is an amazing catch. Are we going to score at market today? But Peter doesn't think that way. At least his actions don't resemble that, because Peter immediately recognized this was a miracle. And Luke records Peter, he strikes a posture. He kneels at Jesus's, I think he's going for his feet, but with all the fish, he probably hits his knees. He's going for the lower extremity of Jesus. You are nothing. Lord, he says, depart from me. I'm nothing compared to you. I worship you. I'm a sinful man, Peter says. Don't destroy me. I am nothing compared to you. And in this partnership, Jesus is clearly the senior partner. But he treats those that are in his team as equal cohorts, as valuable people he loves. Peter, James, John, the LLC partners, were astonished. The sons of Zebedee right there, they're amazed. They're in awe. Actually, the word could be they're a bit terrified at what just happened. They've never, ever in their professional lives seen their boat so full with fish. Their career was at its peak at this moment. And they knew that they were being in partnership with Jesus was something awesome. So here's the second thing. Jesus invites us to join him in surprising things. Not just simple things, but surprising things. It may seem illogical. It may seem abnormal. It may seem unorthodox. It may be unprofessional. It may appear to be something unheard of or against the odds. But in those divine encounters, we have to decide to trust the Lord over our logic. Peter experienced the Lord's power. So can you. And when you do, aim for his knees in worship. Peter had been in close proximity to the Lord. Mother-in-law healed. He heard the gospel teaching from the boat. Now this amazing return of fishing with all the fish loaded of the boat down. And you know, sometimes God invites us to do something, and because we've witnessed his power, it's like, yes, absolutely, we jump all in, right? Have you been there? Some of those seasons in your life? Other times we kind of drag our feet. We sometimes... we don't necessarily want to at this moment. It's like, right now? You know, maybe a bit out of our comfort zone, or maybe something that kind of frightens us. There are other times where we just flat out refuse his invitation to participate because it's way inconveniencing and maybe a bit of a struggle. But to join him in his life-changing work, it really means we allow God to interrupt us and what we're doing to join him in what he's doing. That is an act of worship. It starts with opening our eyes to see where God is. And what's he doing? Where is he working? He wants us to recover an imagination of creative work, to actually reimagine creative work can happen through my broken frailty. And he longs to do that through us. So here's something practical. I'm not going to say this for the end of the sermon. Something practical you can do this week, all right? What you might try to do, consider waking up for the next 7 days. I don't know how you want to write it on the mirror. Make sure your attention goes right here. Maybe it's part of your notification as soon as your cell phone alarm goes off. But for the next 7 days, what if at the very beginning of your day, before you even got coffee, what if you prayed this prayer? God, open my eyes today. Show me today where you're working. I'll join you. I mean, thank you for inviting me, Lord. Thanks for what you have done in me. Thanks for the church experience on Sunday and the songs we sang and the life-restoring reminder of the mission you're inviting me into. Please, though, would you open my eyes to what you're doing? What if we pray that for the next 7 days, daily? Do an experiment. Actually, try them out. See what happens. This kind of prayer, I think, actually, at the very least, that sort of prayer kind of syncs us up with God's heart and really gets us aligned with the Spirit of God and what God is doing, where we kind of follow His cues a little more. We're a little more aware of His elbows, like, hey, try that out. At least praying that prompts us to think that way. But if you pray that prayer, you know what's going to happen? Spoiler alert. He's probably going to show up and give you an opportunity to join Him in that. And where you can join Him in His work, what a worshipful moment that is. He's not going to force you, though. He's not going to twist your arm. You committed to praying. Hold you to it. No, He's not going to twist your arm. He's going to invite you to the opportunity that's made and suited for you. The process begins by actively just looking for God and where He's working around and then bravely joining Him in those simple things. Maybe in those surprising things in order to benefit someone other than yourself. And when you join Him in those simple things and you join Him in those surprising things, you can expect this to happen. In Luke 5, verse 10, after worshiping Jesus, Peter hears Jesus say, hey, don't be afraid. From now on, you'll be catching men. Fear not. I want to use you in the spreading of this hope message that I just shared with the crowd from your boat. Peter caught it. Peter caught what Jesus was doing. He's shifting his focus and creating something new. From creating revenue for market, now he's going to be used to repurpose people's lives for a mission beyond them. And that whole fish for men phrase, and that's the great invitation. That's the great appeal. It'll demand, though, a shift in Peter's focus. It'll demand a change. How does Peter respond? How would we respond? In verse 11, he brings his boats to the land and left everything to follow Jesus. Luke doesn't insert this, so I don't know if we should either. There's no hesitation. He participates with Jesus that he saw Jesus do firsthand on several occasions. Peter drops everything. He makes no excuses, and he doesn't reason it out. He doesn't clean the fish, the largest yield he's ever made in his career. He doesn't go to market. He doesn't put his LLC up for sale. He doesn't upload photographs to Instagram or Craigslist or eBay about all of his equipment. Peter, metaphorically speaking, burns his ships. He abandons his for-profit business to help others profit in God's grace. Peter left it all to allow God to lead him into a new pursuit, a new life in Jesus. So here's the third thought. Jesus invites us to join him in simple things, in surprising things, and thirdly, in sacrificing things. He joins us. He wants us to join him in that. Encountering Jesus and participating with him will change Peter radically. It'll change you too. He left everything and he turned his back. Can we just go there? He turned his back on his goals, on his dreams, on his aspirations. He no longer followed his career path and the trajectory that he had set forth with his mission statement and his vision for his life. He left it all. He chucked his retirement plan. I don't know how he did that, but I'll tell you what, he sacrificed it for God. Can you hear the conversation with his wife? We have nothing recorded in the Bible. Can we just play this for a minute? Can you hear he gets home and talks to his wife? I just wonder, The Chosen kind of replayed this a little bit, if you're up to that. Hey, honey, Messiah and I had a conversation today. He invited me into his mission. And I'm convinced it'll be worth it. I left it all. Good with that? Can you imagine the conversation? Hey, you're still my woman. But I need to travel for a little bit to get equipped. I don't know. Again, we have no record of this in the Bible, but I wonder what his wife would... Hey, babe, when Messiah invites, yes, step. Proud of you. God will take care of our needs, don't worry. As men do. His life got clearly interrupted, and Peter did not resist. That selfless decision, that kingdom-focused decision, radically altered the trajectory of Peter's life. And so no matter your age, no matter our age, Jesus invites us to imitate his sacrifice. He invites us to join him in his sacrificing of things. He set the model. God's redemptive mission started with his sacrifice. You know, at Boise Bible College, where I serve, we got some students here, graduate, Ozark Christian College alumni, Bible College in general. You know, it's really a thrill for us to see God work through a 4-year interruption of some students' lives. It's an interruption, but it's awesome to watch their preparation. We had some recent graduates. You remember David Hamilton? David Hamilton and his new wife, Melissa, they signed up with Pioneer Bible Translators, and David and Melissa are now en route to North Africa. They're going to translate the Bible. David's a geek Greek guy. Like, he loves Hebrew language and linguistics, and he's a master at it. And he and his wife are going to a place, it's a United Nations refugee city of about 30,000 people in North Africa, 99% Muslim. And there are several hundreds of, maybe about 100 language groups in this UN refugee center. And they're going to help translate one language that doesn't have the Bible yet. They don't have the Bible. David and Melissa, like some of our grads, could teach at university level. And he is being called, and they're going and they're giving it all up to do something to help a people group get the Bible. You know, if you can't move to Boise, it's not too far away. I guess it'd be a long commute to take classes. We're actually going to launch some remote learning with potential students that would be within a church like this, like under the supervision or coaching of an Eric. If you want to take some, we're looking at exploring what that will look like in the next year or so. Or maybe you could fund a young kid that might want to do ministry like that. Whatever it will be, it'll be worth it in the end. It'll be worth it. It was for Peter. You know Peter, the rest of his story, maybe familiar, foot and mouth disease, Peter. You know, he always speaks before he thinks. By God's grace, he was used 50 days after Jesus rises from the dead, when the church was birthed and lit up on fire by the Holy Spirit. It was Pete, used by God. He was the mouthpiece, the first gospel message of Jesus right there after Jesus' resurrection, just like you heard Jesus from the boat. Peter was used. Peter, a fisherman, he's not an oar. He was used in a crazy way. God will use you in a crazy way. You look back and go, wow, did you do something through me like that? Yeah. And here's the best thing about Peter's life, no matter our past. Because he denies Jesus, he lets him down by grace, he works. Peter's entire life that day was altered. And he would never be the same. But in that altering, he put himself on the altar. He said, here I am. Peter found purpose and he found hope, and he was driven for something to help others find what he had found and encountered. And it wouldn't always be easy for Peter. He would suffer. Church history tells us that Peter suffered. Sometimes it's just the cost of what it means to participate with Jesus when he invites us. And it all starts with that prayer. But at your word, I'll do it. That's quite a daring prayer. But at your word, I'll relinquish control. I'll relinquish my resources for your pleasure. My current safety level and my current status, I will let go of my fears of what others may think or say about me to do what you want to do through me. He invites us to participate, and as an expression of our gratitude,